Good one.
How you feeling about Sucknut man always finds things to bitch about, and now they're crying about Big Noon putting the game at
Yeah,
Texas.
I have mixed feelings on this. Ohio State fans crying about noon kickoffs. On the one hand, um, I get it. There is just something about night games. Like there's no denying that.
Right.
As a fan, now I say as a fan, there are fans who prefer the noon games. There's a lot of media type people that prefer the noon games because you can go get your game out of the way. You're home at a decent time, or you can be back in a hotel or whatever to watch other games, stuff like that. So I get that. But like in general, like in terms of like atmosphere, how loud it is, sort of just the overall environment, there is something about night games. And it does seem like Ohio State plays a ridiculous amount of noon games. So, like, on the one hand, I get that. On the other hand, they've spent 3 years bragging about a TV contract. Well, it's that TV contract that's got you playing all these noon games, bud. Now, back when the SEC was with CBS, the CBS game of the week, SEC 3:30 every week, right? And so the best game of the week was on at 3:30. Georgia, there was a lot of years where Georgia would either play in the 3:30 game, or if they didn't play in the 3:30 game, they were getting put in the noon time slot, and they had no home night games. But generally, it didn't work out that way a lot of times because there was a rule built into the contract between the SEC and CBS that CBS could only broadcast the same team a certain number of times. In other words, CBS couldn't just go, we're going to, like when Alabama was on their historic run, that 15-year period where they were just, CBS couldn't go, okay, we're going to pick the Alabama game every week. We're going to show Alabama every week at 3:30. They couldn't do that. There was a limit to the number of times a team could play in that 3:30 slot. It was built into the TV contract. I'm not going to pretend to have read the Big Ten Fox TV contract, but obviously there's nothing in there like that because it does seem like Ohio State plays a ridiculous amount of noon games. So like for fans who enjoy going to night games and the environment of being at a night game and things like that, I get it. Same thing with Penn State, right? The whiteout deal. They keep getting screwed by having to play roast beef tech in a noon game for their whiteout or whatever, because or at night for their whiteout, because any decent game they play gets put on at noon. So on the one hand, I understand it, but then on the other hand, I'm like, well, you spent you spent 3 years bragging about your TV contract. This is your TV contract. Deal with it. Accept
That's
it.
insane. Yeah, for real. So
Now,
let me
say this. There's one thing that I have no patience for. An Ohio State fan on Twitter said that because Ohio State keeps getting stuck playing all these noon games because of Fox, that he thinks Ohio State should get 50% of the TV revenue, which is just insane. Keep in mind the TV revenue for the Big Ten is over $1 billion a year. A billion. So he thinks Ohio State should make $500 million. And that is the Florida State argument.
Yep.
We need more money. No, you don't need more money. Play your game when you're told to and shut the fuck up. No one made you sign off on that TV contract. You saw the dollar sign and you signed off on it. That's it. That's all there is to it. So you're going to play the game when Fox tells you to. And I don't even know if you've heard the worst part yet. I haven't mentioned this yet. How many of y'all have heard this? Now, who remembers? You remember when Michigan planted the flag at midfield?
Yep.
Do you remember what the state of Ohio's response to that was?
They made it a law that you couldn't.
They passed a law. They made it a felony to plant a flag on Ohio State's logo. Okay. Well, guess what they're doing now? The Ohio State legislature has introduced a bill to fine Fox TV if Ohio State plays more than a certain number of noon games a year.
My God, they're the saltiest fan base of all time.
What are we doing? These lawsuits, I don't. Boy, you know, there's that old joke about the lady that goes through the drive-thru at McDonald's and orders a coffee. They give her the coffee, she spills it on herself, and then sues McDonald's because the coffee was hot. Didn't you know the coffee was hot, lady, when you ordered it? Now, this suing shit is getting out of hand. Completely, just completely out of hand. Everybody wants to sue everybody for something. There is a lawsuit coming. I'm telling you. You write this down. Let me ask you a question. How many years can you play college football?
I would say around 4 or 5.
Why?
Because they can take a redshirt year, like one redshirt year.
Well, why can't you play for 8 years? Because there's an NCAA rule that says you can't. Now, let me ask you another question. If you're a college football player and you've played for 4 years and you graduated and you want to get another bachelor's degree, so you re-enroll your 5th year at that college because you want another bachelor's degree, and you say, right, I'm a college student. I should be able to keep playing football. That lawsuit is coming. What's going to happen is you're going to have professional students. Now, I was a professional student. I didn't play sports, but I was in college forever. I just kept going. Every time I would get close to graduating, I just kept changing my major. So right. I used to call myself a professional student. Somebody is going to use up their 4 or 5 years of eligibility, and they're going to sue the NCAA, and they're going to say, you can't tell me that I can only play college football for 4 or 5 years. As long as I'm enrolled, I should be able to play. And a federal court is going to go, you're right. You're right. There's nothing constitutional about the NCAA telling you that you can only play college football 4 years in a 5-year period. You're right. As long as you keep it. So you're going to end up with these players that are okay, but not good enough to go to the NFL. They're just going to keep enrolling in college class. You're going to have 30-year-old college football players. That lawsuit is coming. And people, when it happens, people will blame the NCAA. It's not the NCAA's fault. They lose a court case. But that's coming. So, but they just want to, you just sue your way into everything. That's what college football has devolved into. Don't like the conference you're in? Sue your conference. Don't like your TV deal? Sue your TV partner. Don't like the fact that you can only play college football for 4 years in a 5-year period? Sue. Don't like the fact that you're not allowed to transfer 14 times? Sue. And they just keep winning every lawsuit they file. It's insanity. And the frustrating part is there's one thing that will fix all of the problems, but no one wants to do it because it will create other problems. But you're going to have to make these players employees. That's the only way any of this is ever going to end. It's the only way, because then Congress will carve out an antitrust exception for college football, just like they do for the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball and all these other professional leagues that impose rules on their players that are otherwise unconstitutional. You know, what's his name? Shador was just drafted by the Browns, right? Well, right. What if he don't want to play for the Browns? I want to go to I'm just going to show up in Dallas and play for the Cowboys. You can't do that. Cleveland owns the rights to you now because they drafted you. Well, that's illegal. If I want to work for AT&T, Verizon can't tell me I can't, you know? Right. But they have antitrust exemption carved out through congressional legislation. Which is why the NFL and Major League Baseball and the NBA are all able to do that. And they're only able to do that because the players in the professional sports are employees who are allowed to unionize and collectively bargain. And until we get that in college football, the players are going to continue to win every single lawsuit they file.
You imagine, you remember when Georgia did that year when A&M and Missouri joined the conference and we had to play Auburn at Auburn back-to-back years?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Remember that.
Imagine if a school would have sued like their own conference about that.
Nowadays, they probably would.
My God, Ohio State probably would have done that too. They had to play like at Penn State back-to-back years.
Yeah. Yeah,
that'd be crazy.
Ridiculous. All right, buddy. Hey, thank you for the call. Good to hear from you, Eli. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hi, Uncle Lou. This is my first time being up here, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you calling in.